Welcome everyone again. This is Bridge Innovate. You're joining us on our Inspire series as well as introduction to our certificate program that's coming up. My name is Mary Kim, Senior Consultant at Bridge Innovate. So if you're not familiar with Bridge Innovate, we are located near the greater Chattanooga area in Rossville, Georgia. It's beautiful here today. And we are a global network of business strategists, consultants, and designers that team up with you to spark distinctive design, courageous leadership, and agile change to transform your organization for growth and good. So the goal for today is to inspire you as well as provide information. So hopefully many of you are excited about the free open enrollment as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone. So as we are also introducing ourselves on the chat, one of the things I would love to hear from you is, what's a challenge that your community is facing? And some topic may be very obvious, but we'd love to just get some sense from you. What are some of the things that are on top of your minds? Maybe a priority, a challenge. Jenny here saying unity and safety. I think that's probably on top of many of our minds. And maybe if you are a part of an organization serving a community or communities, maybe there are significant internal challenges that you're facing you'd like to share. Helping those in need, growth. Great, thanks, Jenny. If there's anything else that's on top of your mind, let us know. We'd love to hear, just in terms of context, what you're looking for. Great. We'll go ahead and continue on. So for today, I'd love to share a little bit about why community vibrancy. And to some of you, this might be a big duh, and that's okay. We'd love to share our perspective. And our methodology that we like to use is design thinking. So we'll talk about empathy-driven innovation that we use as the foundation of the program. And of course, we'll dive into program overview and takeaways. What are some of the things that just the structure of the program and what you can expect to learn and take away from it. And the way we do that, of course, you're probably wondering, how are we going to do this in the pandemic? We're going to share the platform that we use to make that happen, have a collaborative session, as well as share some perspectives from our 2019 cohort that completed the program previously. And of course, we can't forget to tell you a little bit about how to enroll, maybe answer a couple of questions, and of course, the big announcement of the winner, which will be a random draw. So jumping in, we wanted to inspire you with a few quotes. So I won't read everything on the screen, but the very first one that I see here, that there's no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. And I think that's probably true for many initiatives, not just about communities, right? And I think the key to what we're hoping to achieve with the work that we do with communities and organizations is why strategy, why having a vision and goals are important. And we hope that you're here to have those conversations with us. And one of the other quotes that we enjoy is talking specifically about vibrant communities on the right side. Leaders from many sectors of the communities have to collaborate, which is why we love the cohort structure, to inspire one another before they can take the steps that allow sustainable growth to take off. We know scaling and sustainability can be an opportunity and challenge at the same time. So let's go ahead and dig more into that as we go on as to how we can achieve those things with the Community Vibrancy program. So one of the case studies that we like to share when people talk about the impact of community vibrancy is one of the communities that we had the opportunity to work with. So you'll see here, celebrate the grand opening of Burr Park. And I want to say this was a culmination of collaborative leadership, community vibrancy, and I would say having that strategy and a willing community member with resources all came together to make this happen. So this bird park is now located in Dalton, Georgia, not too far from where we are in Chattanooga. And one thing that the community was able to do by going through a program that helped them come up with a strategy was that when Jane Burr, a community member looking for a cause for her legacy, came to an organization and said, hey, I want to have something that's going to make an impact. I want to leave my legacy. What could I do? And the great thing is that the community already had a strategy to present to her. We want a place for our community to gather, and that's Burr Park. Of course, at that time, it wasn't Burr Park, but because they had a strategy, she said, that is what I want to do. I want to give back to my community, and you already have a plan, so let's go for it. So she was able to donate a significant amount that made this Burr Park happen. So one thing I would say is, if anything, when you have a vision and a plan and you're able to clearly present what that is, there will be opportunities like grants, and of course, maybe even the community member wanting to leave a legacy, make that big vision happen. Another example we have is maybe at a smaller scale, not an entire park all at once, but we've also had an opportunity to work with Fort Oglethorpe that had essentially a series of strategy, a series of plan put in place that they wanted to bring arts and culture, to bring vibrancy to their military history. And they were able to present that, and they were able to continue to get grants after grants after grant, not just one big giant donation, but because they had this vision of what this pathway would look like to build on what they already had, the assets that they had, they were able to continue this effort, and it's still happening. We're seeing great work happen. So for those of you, maybe some of you are already familiar with design thinking. The reason why design thinking in this process of community vibrancy, you see the definition here of design thinking. Design thinking is a methodology for creating or improving products, services, and experiences grounded by the needs of the user rather than whims of the creator. So you'll hear a lot of corporations, design professionals using design thinking to problem solve. So why would a community use design thinking? And the reason why we use this as a foundation of our community vibrancy program is because we are trying to use human-centered design to bring community to the front and center of what is being innovated. So who uses it? There are many corporations, nonprofits. We have a great nonprofit here, United Way of Greater Chattanooga. Of course, they have branches all over the US that is using design thinking to build their innovation center, to bring vibrancy to the community. And we know many other organizations and communities are doing the same. So just a quick, would love to know about your knowledge of design thinking. And it's completely okay to type in that one. There's no shame. This is a safe zone. Would just love to learn about where you are coming from in terms of your knowledge of design thinking. One, great. I'm glad that we're able to introduce you to design thinking. Some of us are veterans, have utilized it. Two, great. Again, this is an opportunity for us to get to know one another, learn about what we can do to help those that are wanting to learn more about design thinking. .3. Great. So maybe somewhere between the expert, veteran, in between. Great. Thanks, Dan. Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. And we know that our community members too, when we try to utilize design thinking, we're all coming from various experience levels. So that's part of the reason why also the collaborative team efforts seem to work very well in our programs. So in addition to design thinking, one of the framework that we will be introducing to our cohort 2 is the Vibrancy Strategy Canvas. So for those of you that have been using maybe the business model canvas, which is widely used for strategizing for corporation, organization. This is a modified version specifically for this particular program. So as you'll see here, some of the key categories that are also in business model canvas is replicated here. And there's some probably new words that you see here, such as arts and cultural assets and resources. We use asset mapping to help communities understand their strengths and existing resources. Maybe the strategy is just a matter of having better connection between the resources and partners. And at the core, you see here highlighted in bright purple is that value proposition, distinctive play. What makes your community distinctive and unique? And part of that, we talk about arts and culture perspective here, but I think in the core, what we're trying to help communities understand is that this opportunity, this framework, in combination of design thinking, the goal is to build a people and place focused strategy. And I know that there are a lot of move out there focused on creative placemaking. What we're wanting to hear, what we're seeing is that often communities need strategy around places as well as people. And the design thinking component can easily bring that people focused strategy, which is kind of on the forefront of what we were looking for. So to get to the meat of why we're here today is about the program we're running in August. So Vibrancy Strategy Cohort, we can kind of define it in two different ways. One is the virtual cohort experience. So we are going to be meeting virtually. You'll get to meet other community-focused community leaders from all over the US or even all over the world. And also it is a leadership development. It's a professional development opportunity for individuals as well as a community impact program. We're not wanting to just teach, but have our participants make an impact, apply the skills that they learn to an actual challenge. So you see this key takeaways here. In this 3-week cohort program, our goal is to equip our leaders with the means to build creative solutions with limited resources in an era of disruption. We know that the pandemic, the social justice movement, there's a lot happening. And your focus might be in that area, or it might be something that has been lingering for past, I don't know, it's 5-10 years that you're really wanting to tackle for your community. So we're hoping that with this program, our participants are coming away with human-centered innovation tools to build people, again, and place-focused strategies, solving complex challenges and igniting vibrancy in the broader community. And along the way, you see here, we're going to be also recognizing you for the great work, give you access to the tools and platform needed in order to have a collaborative innovation session. The digital badge definitely helps to recognize that you've done all the great work. So we'll share more about how the frame actually works. So I mentioned to you about the learning and apply component. So this is going to be a mixture of the two. So we have instructions and tools to provide you with. You'll be able to work with our Bridge team. It's going to be a great experience and be provided with the resources and guidance available from our instructors, as well as the platform we'll be using called Sprintbase, our virtual design thinking platform. And we'll dig more deep into that later on. And while we meet virtually, the cohort will have work sessions to apply what you learned, to explore how to design a strategy to ignite community vibrancy. So we're going to have an opportunity to learn and apply on a specific community-focused challenge along the way. So you're applying what you learned, which is the best way to learn a new skill set. And then we hope that you'll have kind of the drive to take what you've learned and apply to something that's unique to your community, your organization. Of course, you'll have Sprintbase for a month, but then we try to give you an opportunity to maybe implement this as a team, and maybe that means getting more Sprintbase access. But part of that is we are trying to equip you with the skill set to make that impact within your community by equipping the leader is the goal of the program. So this will be over 3 weeks from August 17th through September 3rd. I'll actually share a little bit more about how the schedule looks like in terms of when you look with the design thinking framework. In terms of workload, you're probably curious as well. I would say it's about a 4 hours work commitment that includes the team meeting a week, which is very manageable based on our previous experience running cohort programs. And then you can see the pricing in here for the tuition cost, if you will. And of course, you can always contact me directly to enroll or visit our website, which I'll share the link in just a second. In terms of when we look at our program with design thinking process in mind, the framework you see at the very top is the design thinking process we use. So we start with research. We want to understand as much as we can about our own communities, best practices out there, what are the communities in need of, what are the pain points. We'll form insights, focus the challenge by readdressing what we're looking for, what are we solving for, brainstorming, which is my favorite phase, generating ideas. We're going to actually build a prototype, and I'll dig more into that as to what that looks like in a cohort format, and dive into showing what we have put together. So it's going to be 6 sessions together, Mondays and Thursdays. And kind of think of it as having a lunch break with the Bridge team and having an opportunity to learn something new and meet people that inspire you in the community vibrancy sector. And at the bottom, you'll see the core of what you can expect to take away, other than what I have already mentioned, is that you'll be able to build as a collaborative, as a cohort, the vibrancy strategy canvas I shared with you earlier. We're going to be building elements of that as part of a show the world. We're going to be presenting what we put together. So we are taking away something tangible that you can take to help build strategy in your community. So I think that's going to be a big opportunity for many of us looking at that. As I mentioned to you, we will be using Sprintbase. It's actually one of my favorite virtual tools to use because it makes design thinking seamless. And for those of us that put 1 and 2 earlier in design thinking, no worries. The great thing about design Sprintbase is that it provides actually a ton of guidance resources, which makes it really easy for those of us that might not be familiar with design thinking and make it easy to apply. And here's one of the reasons why we like to use Sprintbase is that there is a report that gets generated that shows every work, every submission our cohort puts into the program, which makes it really easy to see all the great work in one glance. You see here, we see a lot of great observations, which is part of the research, insights, our ideas, prototypes. And then you are able to see, it's going to be simple to use, simple submissions where you see the examples on the right side, some ideas, prototypes, some of those implementation tools that we use. And I mentioned earlier about the professional development component of this. And as an individual, you can expect to take away some of these key skill sets that's naturally assessed using the platform on Sprintbase, such as user centricity. Of course, we're using a human-centered methodology, so we're going to be able to see how you grow in that skill set, as well as collaboration, visual thinking, and action orientation. Of course, we want to not only come up with a strategy, but come up with an action plan to implement. So those are the key things that we'll be able to also see growing in each of our individual participants. So you might be wondering, what does this look like when it's actually applied in reality, right? So it's one thing to see the framework, but I wanted to share our 2019 cohort highlights. So as you see on the screen, we had 3 amazing communities participate starting in 2019. So we had our team from Charlotte, North Carolina. We specifically worked with the organization called Open Streets 704. They are the organizer of events, the biannual events that is held in open streets to bring activity, local businesses, and of course families together to bring something vibrant to the community. We also had Jacksonville, Florida, the Jesse Center. If you're familiar with any of those non-profit complexes that has a physical location, and it's essentially a center where a lot of the nonprofits are located and collaborate. So the Jesse served that purpose for the Jacksonville, Florida area. And another community team we had was St. Paul, Minnesota team, the Metropolitan Council, so the local government entity of St. Paul. So I wanted to share, I don't think any of our team alumni were able to join today, but we sent a questionnaire in advance so they can share their perspective. And I'd like to share that a little bit. And I'm going to talk a little bit about St. Paul team's experience because I think it's very much relevant to things that are happening today that's more people-focused strategy that they came up with. You'll see on the screen the how might we challenges that the teams started off with. So this was before any research. They were asked to come up with a broad challenge question for themselves to address. So they started off with, how might we increase recruitment, retention, and promotion of mid-career employees of color? So their focus was very much on HR recruitment of a specific segment of their community and organization. So the key challenge that they were facing as a community was a workforce demographics that did not reflect the region-wide demographics and poor retention of employees of color at the organization and in the region. So they knew that they had an opportunity to improve, but weren't quite sure. So this is the how might we question that they came up with. So after the program, one of the things that they realized was that it wasn't about the retention rate specifically, but it was more about having open conversations and having those uncomfortable conversations all across the organization, not just interviewing a certain group to come up with a solution. So this group in particular is actually still utilizing their prototype design to implement their idea. And when I asked them, what were some of the key things that you took away from the program, I actually have a quote that I can share with you, was the learning conversation-based methods for solving problems with tangible outcomes. And the process of encouraging, that was encouraging and seeing real progress towards outcome that they want for our region. And one of the things that actually came about before COVID was that we were already working with these teams virtually, and they were able to quickly pick up on those opportunities because we already had a process of working working on virtual collaboration projects. So in the end, one of the things that they did is, one, they gave their mid-career professionals of color a voice. They were listening, which was a big part of empathy, driving methodology to gain information about their community. And then they realized it wasn't just that they were trying to find a career, but they wanted to find an environment that was welcoming and listening. And part of their prototype was those listening sessions that they are now conducting. And I can't wait to hear more as to how their people strategy is going to evolve. And I want to say, you know, one of the key things that we learned as Bridge Innovate continues to work on this strategy program was that we were able to not only spark that in an individual, but that they were able to apply to an entire organization and community and continue to drive impact in their community. So here's, again, information about our program. If there's any question, we do have a page on our website and the link is here. I would say go ahead and visit bridgeinnovate.com, and under learning and resources section, you'll find more information about the Vibrancy Strategy cohort. And we're hoping to get the registration completed in the next month or so, and you see the date here. But if there's any question, and for the communities that are looking to request grants for this, please reach out to me. We'd be happy to help in any way so that you're able to participate and apply a community vibrancy strategy in your community. Okay, so that was a lot of information. And I know you're probably thinking like, oh my goodness, what do I do? So one of the things I just want to do is open up to you, and you're welcome to use chat and share if you have any questions about the information you I shared, or you think would love to learn more. If it's something I can quickly answer, I'd be happy to do that. If not, I'll be happy to connect with you over email or LinkedIn and share more information that way. When does the enrollment end? The enrollment ends August 12th. So that's just a few days before the program kicks off. So make sure that especially if you're going through a grant process, go ahead and send me a message today. I'd be happy to just have a conversation and see how I can help you. I'd be interested to learn more about the St. Paul project. Yes, absolutely. I have more information that I didn't get to share because of the time limit. Be happy to share information about the St. Paul project and kind of the process and the awakening, I would say, that they went through, from starting off with the How Might We Challenge to the point of designing a listening session series for their community. Thank you all again. And we are excited to be part of your community vibrancy strategy and impact. So if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And for more events coming up on community vibrancy, please visit bridgeinnovate.com under events section. There are many more programs coming up that I think you will all be interested in. All right. Everyone have a great day. See you next time.